I did this for you. We did this through you because we were expecting over 100 people, so we needed to use your account.
Okay. Why am I in and nobody's here? Oh, here we go. Okay. I see people coming in.
Okay, we're waiting for you. Yep.
No,
Thank you.
I'm in. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Thank you, Rob.
Hey, Laura, can I make you co-host just because I got to run and do something?
I would love for you to do that. Thank you.
Give me a second here. Okay. I think you're. Oh, I made.
You made me
Jordan's
the co-host.
Oops, sorry. Too much energy drink. No, I got 2 co-hosts. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So yeah, if you guys want to make
it.
cool.
Thank
We'll
you,
figure
Rob.
it out.
Okay. And then okay. I don't think it's making us bring people in. Hi, everybody. Chad. Hi. I see Chad. Okay. All right. Do I see Danielle? Hi. I see you. Hi. Let's see. Where's Xavier?
Xavier.
Oh,
just
hi.
messaged
I
me.
see you. You're right.
There he is.
Actually, you're right next to me on my screen. So thanks, you guys, for being there. Sorry, we're a couple minutes late. We had a glitch. So thank you all for being here. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great, great. All right, I am guessing somebody's asking if we can record this. I believe it will be recorded and we will get it out to you later. So we will definitely do that. And thank you guys all for being here with us today. And
Hey, Laura.
yes.
Sorry, I'll keep an eye on the waiting room for you so we can
Okay.
get people in here.
Thank you, Jordan. It's doing a waiting room? I don't think it's doing a waiting room. You just have to put the code in, I believe. But thank you for paying attention to it.
Got it.
All right, so I am super excited about, first of all, I love doing top agent panels because I find that you guys all get a lot of value out of them. So thank you all for being here today. And this time around, we definitely wanted to talk about technology and how top agents are using technology in their business. And so based on feedback that I received, we talked about having at least one of those people being from our region in Northern California. So Danielle, beautiful. I think those are vineyards behind you. Beautiful. Thank you for being here with us. And then based on recommendations, Xavier and Chad are with us also, and I'm going to allow all 3 of them to introduce themselves. They're used to speaking with each other, and they all use technology in different ways, is what Danielle told me. So I'm super excited. You guys aren't going to hear just the same thing 3 times over. You're going to hear differently from all 3 agents. So ladies first, Danielle, would you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
All righty, I'll dive right in. Fair warning, my internet here in beautiful Northern California, wine country, is a little mess. So let me know if it starts to go wonky, okay?
Okay.
So I'm Danielle Willis. I am located up here in Sonoma County. So Santa Rosa, Roanoke Park, that kind of area. Originally born here and then actually raised in the East Bay. I see some familiar faces. Hi, Kevin. And yes, Xavier, Chad, and I were just on a call. It feels like 5 minutes ago. I've been licensed for just over 5 years. What else do you want to know? I'm pretty much an open book. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you know everything there is to know about me.
Could you share a little bit about how your business was 5 years ago compared to how it is now?
So I got into the real estate industry because my husband is an escrow officer, and he was like, hey, you'd be pretty good at that. And I was managing a restaurant, knew nothing about buying a house, had never purchased, had never sold. I understood sort of what escrow was, but that was about it. decided to get my license and just hit the ground running, and basically came into it knowing nothing, learned as much as I could, as fast as I could, and grew my business strictly through organic Facebook marketing. So I really dove into it. I had, I didn't have the funds to do a lot of advertising. I didn't understand that side of it. So really just went with the organic side. And that's where I grew from not knowing anything to being in the top 4% of realtors.
Bella, I'm busy. What?
I'll mute that person. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's my story. It was 0 to 60 in about a year. And yeah, I'm ranked in some of the top agents up here in Sonoma County. So,
so what was your production in your first year, and what is it in your last 12 months, let's say?
So when I first started, I closed 5. I closed 5 sides in my first year, and in the last 12 months, I think I'm sitting at 21.
Awesome.
So yeah, last year was 26. So,
awesome. Congratulations. That's a great year. Awesome.
And that is as a solo agent, and I do use a TC.
Transaction coordinator. Okay,
yep.
Great. Thank you.
Of course.
Xavier, since you're, I think, the one who's farthest ahead of us on time, I don't want you to fall asleep on us. So why don't you go ahead and go next?
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm an energy machine, so I'm the guy who's up till 3, 4 a.m. and then I wake up at 7. So I don't think you'll have to worry about me falling asleep.
Okay, good.
So I'm, first off, I'm Xavier or X or Javier or Javi. All of them work, and I get them all the time. And I'm in the Tampa Bay area. So my wife and I have a team together. We live in Clearwater. And I joined Keller Williams in 2017. And I started on staff. I've been in a couple of market centers. So I was an agent services coordinator, director of technology. And I personally got licensed last year and joined my wife, and we created our team together. And my wife's been in the industry with Keller Williams at about the same time frame. She started in an independent brokerage, for this long before she realized the culture was not what she wanted. And so going, basically just about 3 years, the first couple of years, the business was, I was supporting my wife from the technology standpoint in the background while being on staff. And she was doing it mostly part-time. Now she's on the ALC, a productivity coach and a mentor. I have a technology consulting company that I created, and we're on track this year to probably our first really full-time year to do about 10 million in volume.
Awesome.
So we're at just about 50% of our business so far year to date is referral. So we really focus on our database, and we're getting lots of referral business. And I mean, it says it right back here, but what we care most about is people. So we have many years of development and transformation, and we care most about making a difference for people. So we focus on that real estate's about people, not just properties.
Thank you. And Xavier, can you share for those of us in the Bay Area what your average price point is so that they understand what 10 million means to you?
Oh gosh, we're like this to have our average price point about 250 this year.
Okay.
It was much lower, but we're actually we've got close, maybe 5 or 6 luxury, deals this year so far over 500,000. And then we have some of the lower price ones, some condos and things like that average it out. So that was the big focus last year, was shifting our price point up.
Okay, did you guys hear that 500,000 and above is considered luxury? Okay, so
Yes.
$10 million producer, everybody wrap their heads around that for our area. Great job, thank you. And so, okay, so you kind of gave your history, so thanks. Chad, you're coming to us from Texas, right?
I am in beautiful, rain-soaked Houston, Texas today. It has been monsooning, so yes. Beautiful Houston, muggy always. I have been in real estate for 7 years. I probably have a different background than probably most people on this call. I come from an agricultural background. So from the time I was probably 12 years old till I got out of high school and then on my own, I've never had a regular 9-to-5 job. I've always been self-employed. Got into real estate with the goal to be a land specialist, strictly a land specialist, and actually started that on my own this year. So transitioned away from a team, one of my best friends on the residential side, and to just land now. So I have I'm not techie. I can't write software, but I can use command at a very high level.
Okay, cool. And so you've been in, I think, did you say 5 years or 7 years?
7 years, KW the whole time.
So tell us a little bit about your first year and where you were at last year in terms of production.
So my first year, so we have a property management company, so we did a lot of leases. I think I did 32 transactions my first year, and a lot of those were leases. So probably in volume, I'm probably 2.5, 3 million in volume. Last year, I've scaled things back. I did a little over 5 million in volume last year as a buyer's agent. And this year I am already at 5 million in volume halfway through the year.
Great. And your average price point?
On the residential side was like 247. And now that I'm into land, I'm more in closer to 500,000.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. So thanks you guys for sharing. Let's see. I know I sent you guys some questions ahead of time. Would you guys share with us how you've used technology to grow your business? And Danielle, are you okay with starting?
Sure, I'll be the guinea pig. So as I mentioned in my introduction, I used organic Facebook marketing to really grow my business from nothing at the very beginning. You know, it was my sphere, of course, was, I have 3 kids. So my sphere was basically people that I knew through school, and the area that I was in at the time really had to do with a lot of renters and things of that nature. So I didn't see the opportunity in front of me at the time. So I really kind of reached out through Facebook and doing all of that. So in taking that and being able to spin it and change it using command and really utilizing the advertising that we can do through campaigns, I've really been able to kind of grow things and target, and I've learned to be able to target those markets a little harder.
Cool. Awesome. And then can you go into a little bit more detail when you say that you use Facebook? Because I think we have some people that understand what that means, and then some people that are still trying to wrap their heads around that. Can you go into a little bit more detail on that?
Absolutely. So the method that I end up kind of honing in on is through completely organic marketing, where kind of my magic ratio of posting is, the concept, of course, here is, you know, here's me, know me, like me, trust me, by the way, I sell real estate. I got into this absolutely just, I did not want to be a salesperson. Although I've been in sales my whole life, it's always been on a personal level. Finding those needs for people without being buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, right? So like, that's why when people ask me about production, I talk about units, because for me, it's how many families have I helped, not how much money have I made.
Right.
So that is literally where I look at it. I never look at the commission, things of that nature. So in utilizing that, going through Facebook, it's here's who I am, post an engaging post. I know if I know that I have a new listing coming up, I make it a point to post things that are very engaging. If you look on my page right now, I have a question about brownies, right? Are you a center of brownie person, or are you an edge of the brownie person? Or if you're like me, you're a corner, right? And the deal is, everyone has an opinion, right? We all want to be heard. We all have opinions. And it's finding those things that will engage people without creating a fight, which is very difficult to do right now. You know, we have a lot of people right now who are they're very much looking to voice their opinions, especially those who've been inside for so long and sheltered in place and having to wear masks outside and things of all of that nature. So basically going through and finding things that people can have an opinion about without creating an argument. So if I say, yes, Xavier, I know you're a corner brownie person, it's okay. The deal is you create a post like that that's going to engage people. You utilize those algorithms and get yourself in front of people. If you know how Facebook works, the more you engage with someone, the higher you appear on their timeline. So as you create those engaging posts, then when it's time to post your open house, when we eventually get to do them again, or your new listing, you're going to appear at the top of their feed, and it's just staying top of mind. there are definitely ways to stay top of mind and be in front of people without being a pushy salesperson. And the organic marketing through Facebook and Instagram really allows for that.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And then let's see, we'll go ahead and go back to Xavier. Tell us a little bit about how you've used, so you were the technology person in the background for your wife, is what you mentioned. And how were you guys using that technology to grow your business?
Yeah, so, I didn't really mention, background for me, but I've always been a techie focused guy. So kind of opposite to Chad. I was the guy in the advanced mathematics and science classes in school. I went right into the Air Force. I worked on avionics for fighter jets after high school. And then I went into retail for like 10 years. And so I was looking at, okay, what's the technology systems, aka the CRMs they were using to manage business. So then coming into Keller Williams, it was just like, oh, okay, well, what do we have? Now, I feel like being newer in the industry and in the business less than 5 years, we were really benefited in the sense that we didn't use all these other systems and tools that some agents probably are dealing with when it comes to, hey, I'm going to switch to command. We just didn't have anything. My wife has all her little notebooks where she writes, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 whiteboards here in our office. And she loves that visual. So what I love is how can we take what we've been building and being in the lab process from almost the very beginning, like opportunities as an example, I mirror and map that to what's on our whiteboards. Because I don't think we're going to get rid of the whiteboards. Even if we have opportunities up on a TV screen in our office, it's cool to be able to see that in 2 different ways. It reaffirms what we're doing in our business. Yeah. So that's kind of, I think, how we've been implementing the technology to support. And then as far as streamlining marketing. So, hey, here's what we're doing on Facebook, et cetera. It's like my wife's just like a get it done, how'd you go kind of, and I stop and analyze and look at things. So we really work very well together in that sense. And so it's how can I use the systems we've been provided to amplify our business?
Cool, thank you. I'm gonna ask you at some point, try to remind me if we can go back and talk about opportunities a little bit and talk about checklists and the AI that's involved in that and why that's so important. So if you'll remind me, we'll come back to that. Okay, thank you. So Chad, you're up, you knew it. Tell us a little bit about what how you've been using technology to grow your business.
So I do kind of a combination of both what Danielle and Xavier do, but I'm not really using the command part of campaigns for my ads. I use a messenger bot through Facebook, built on ManyChat, if anybody knows about messenger bots, which I did not until November of last year. So all of my ads, all of our listings, and for buyers as well, uses a messenger bot. I have it filters straight into command, and then from there I have it all following up. The messenger bot is built on the MREA model of an 8x8 and a 36 touch. So as long as they never unsubscribe, it will constantly follow up with them until they unsubscribe, or we make contact and I take them off of it.
Okay, I'm sure people are going to have a few more questions about that. Can you go into a little bit more detail about what bots are and Messenger and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I had heard about it from some of the other labs advisors that were using it, got into it. I don't even have a big spend budget. I think I have like $3 a day on some, maybe a newer listing, a higher price listing, I'll do $10 a day. But right now I have 3,280 people since November that have not unsubscribed, they're subscribed to it. And it's constantly sending them, staying in front of them through Facebook Messenger. And I've had some that have never responded, and 3 months later, something will pop up and they finally respond. If I have their phone number, of course, I'm calling them, but most of them are always just doing their emails. But it may take a little while, but once that right message goes through or the right timing,
right,
then they give their phone numbers, and then we start our conversations from there.
Now, do you remember, Chad, Jason Abrams talks a lot about the law of emotional proximity? Mm-hmm. Can you go into what you basically just said it, but can you go in and sort of explain what that means in terms of what you just said?
Well, I may have overspoke there, remembering what Jason says, because he's such a word master on everything.
You want me to get that one for you?
Go ahead, X. Yeah, but you have to go to Your Majesty first.
Oh, okay, Your Majesty, Your Land Majesty. I can go with that. So this is kind of my wheelhouse because in addition to everything, I'm also a Keller Williams University approved trainer. I'm on track to be master faculty. So I really do, like Chad said, follow the MRA models as much as possible, or at least base everything in my conversations on them. Even if we're not fully following them, like my wife and I personally, I always point to them and say, okay, here's how the next thing we can transition, or here's what we can do. Because I don't think we're following anything 100%, right? So the emotional proximity refers to the frequency, right, in which we're communicating to people, and the client journey is like that up and down chart. Like it's basically the peaks and the valleys that we see. And what Jason Abrams refers to when he says is, hey, at the peak of this here, what this is referring to is when someone actually transacts real estate. And then the valley right down here at the very, very bottom is the very next day. You know, why is that? Because outside of investors, a traditional, buyer or something like that isn't going to transact real estate the day after they transacted it yesterday. So then the whole next rise is up until the next time they purchase, which may be like 3 to 7 year window. And what we do normally as people and as agents is we justify and validate the validity and the power of the lead based on how close they are to transacting real estate. So if we get a lead and they're like, oh yeah, I need to buy in the next month, or I'm going to sell my house right this summer because the kids are empty nesting now or whatever, right? Whoa, that's a really good lead. Yet if they're down here, we say, oh, this lead sucks or blah, blah. But if you actually follow the models and communicate with people and stay in emotional proximity, right, using our 36 to convert, our 19 to connect, or whatever the new MRA model plans are, et cetera. Well, what does that mean? That means that then when the time does come, they're right here. They're top of mind. That's why BOLD is such a powerful course if you follow it, because all it does is keep you top of mind with people. That's what the DTT2 does, right? All of that. So staying in emotional proximity so people think of you when it comes time that they're actually up here. And we know most people actually transact real estate more than once in their life. That's why it's this big chart and there's more than one time. So as long as we're in emotional proximity, it actually doesn't matter where they are in that flow, because we don't want every single lead to be a right now lead, or we would get overwhelmed, or we'd have to spend money on leverage to actually close all that. So that, I hope that kind of provides some clarity on it.
You did great. Thank you. And so when Chad was talking about how he's got follow-up campaigns and touch campaigns that he's using, and he may not hear from somebody for months on end, he's still staying in touch with them. He's still staying top of mind. And when they get closer to that emotional proximity of being ready, Chad is right there with them. So they are getting in touch with him instead of some other realtor. Does that make sense? So, yep. Thank you, Chad. You're doing it. You're doing it right.
Yeah. So I was going to say, and with that, the ones that I do capture their phone numbers with, they're in command. I use D2 tags. And even though I know what their timeline is from our initial conversation, I do the forward sandwich. When I talk to them, I just check in and never really make it about business unless they bring business up. It's more of I've got people I've never met, but I know their whole life story with their family and their kids. And every quarter I'm checking in with them to see how things are going.
Yep. Thank you. I just want to mention to the 3 speakers that we may have a few guests on today that are not from Keller Williams. So if you can do a few definitions, that would be great. And then we also have lots of Keller Williams people on here who are at different levels. So Chad, could you explain what DTD2 means?
So I'm trying to remember what it actually stands for. Do the database.
Do the database too.
Yeah. So it's I do it by last names of AWBEDO. And everybody that goes into command has a D2 tag, and in my calendar on Google, I set up the first few weeks, and then I have it auto-populate. So every week I know when I open my Gmail calendar, this is who I'm calling that week. This is that D2 tag that I'm calling.
Awesome, thank you for that. So Danielle, what are your favorite tech tools that you use to drive your business?
So I think it's pretty obvious. I'm really big into social media. So that is actually one of my favorite tech tools. And I use them not quite as techy as I could. actually Chad is, he's a pro with the bots and all of that. And I'm jealous of his bots because my strategy is utilizing a lot of the same techniques, but I'm on my phone at midnight messaging people. So I do use a lot of the social media and bringing command into that for the follow-up, taking a lot of that follow-up off my plate by utilizing the neighborhood nurture programs and things of that nature. That really is the technology that's kind of taking a lot of leverage for me. It's pulling things off my plate so I have more time to have those personal conversations.
Can you talk a little bit more about neighborhood nurtures? I know I work with my agents to explain the power of that. Can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing and how powerful that is?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna do a really bad thing right here. I'm gonna mention the Z word. So for those of you who have been on Zillow, if you've ever, I mean, we've all had to utilize it at some point. And I believe I was looking at properties in Florida for some reason, like 3 years ago. I still get emails from Zillow. Here's some houses I think you might like, right? Their follow-up is on point in Florida. I'm not going to Florida anytime soon. I love my wine country here, much to my husband's dismay. When it comes down to it, really, those pieces of follow-up, that is what the neighborhood nurture is good for. Being able to have it customized to that person, to be looking at the neighborhoods that they were looking at. You know, and you guys know, you know your neighborhoods, right? You know the little tiny pockets within the meh areas that are little golden nuggets. That's what the neighborhood nurture can do. It really just brings it to the forefront. Here's what's going on. And it really is just part of staying top of mind. That's our job as realtors. And this is just making it easier.
So I have a question for you because I think it might come up. This is one of the struggles that I think some of the agents have with neighborhood nurtures. And can you guess what it is?
No, tell me.
They don't have their addresses. So what do you use to get people's addresses?
So as far as addresses go, I do make it a point to get to know who they are. First of all, utilize that social media. You can go through and stalk their Facebook, find out what school their kid goes to. That's going to give you an idea of what neighborhood they should be looking in. And if they don't live in that neighborhood, maybe they want to and they did an inter-district transfer. I'm really, really big into the schools. Like I said, I have 3 kids. I've been on every board possible. I'm that mom. So I've sold houses to 6 teachers from one school, right? So it's really important to me to be involved in that. So if you can go through and figure out what schools their kids go to, you can send it based on that. You can also, you know, go through and find out where they work and base it on that. Maybe they want to live closer to home. And as you build the relationship, the conversation becomes organic and it really comes down to, hey, how's it going? You know, I have this really amazing app. I have this really amazing tool and it can keep you updated on what's going on. I'm a nosy neighbor. I'm sure you are too. Are you interested in seeing what's going on in your neighborhood? No pressure. You never have to work with me. It's just really awesome. Can I share it with you?
And then from there, they're like, yeah, sure. And then you say, okay, what's your address? Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You know, what's your address? I want to make sure that I know what house my kids need to trick or treat at this year. You know, I want to send the information and I want it to be customized to you. And I can do that by giving this to you. The other really great technique that one of my agents in my market center uses is, hey, I'd love to send you a birthday card. That's a really big win for her, right? And is she actually going to send them? She does. I don't. I'm terrible with cards. I don't even do Christmas cards. However, I want to send you I want to send you a gift card. I want to send you a birthday card. I want to send you something, whatever it is. I currently have 5 giant bottles of hand sanitizer that I am putting my labels on, and I am gifting them. And I want to drop by. Well, I can't drop them by your house if I don't know where you live.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Thank you. Xavier, what are your favorite tech tools that you're using?
So obviously I have to say command, mainly because we don't use any other systems in our business, you know, for real estate. So that's literally all that we use, my wife and I, outside of just our normal paper and stuff. So using that, obviously the neighborhood stuff, etc. I actually my birthday was last week, and
Happy birthday!
Thank you. So one of the things I got was a Facebook message from another agent who said, "Oh, hey, in the future, I want to be able to send you something. Hey, can I get your address?" And I was like, "Oh, wow." So I just thought of that. I was like, Facebook every single day tells me when someone has a birthday. So one, I use that to update my database. But another thing is, oh, wait, maybe I could communicate to people and say, hey, in the future for an upcoming holiday or maybe your next birthday, I'd love to have your address. So that's an idea I have. I haven't done that. What I've done, though, is I've used the angle of, hey, I'm testing out this awesome new technology, or hey, I'm going to do this. And I put that on my Facebook. And people want in on stuff that's like exclusive. And I've actually closed a couple of deals doing that, where someone's like, oh, I'm interested in that. And then when I start to message them directly, I say, hey, I need your address. And then what I do is I have them go back to the post after they looked at it. Like, this is awesome. And I tell them to go back and comment, because then other people end up messaging me and I get their address every time. I say, hey, I need that. And by the way, I need your updated email address that you actually check. Oh, by the way, is this still your phone number? It's like it's a clean the database kind of thing every time I do that. So it's really fun. It's manual work that I do personally, but it really works to get my database more organized. So Command and the tools that we've had with that. Obviously, I do a lot of social media stuff, so marketing, etc. The designs we get to create. Now that we've gotten a few key templates that my wife and I really like, in less than 5 minutes, I can create marketing assets. So it's just listed, it's just sold. It's super fun. Open house, so those are things that we create on a regular basis. That's all through. And then Facebook is a technology to use. So like Danielle said, the organic stuff. We've done some ads through Command and gotten great, leads, and we've communicated with them, but we really don't spend almost any money on marketing. My wife and I, the most marketing money we've spent is printing flyers for open houses that we created and designs, like the actual printing of them. Everything else, we don't pay for leads or anything. And so doing a lot of Facebook just stuff, connecting with people.
Yeah.
So Facebook's really important to us. And the last piece is this right here. There's so much that actually happens right here on the phone. One, because this is the primary place that anyone that I've met in real estate manages their database. Then they go to the system that they use, etc., that they'll go and say they use. But if you met me at Starbucks and I saw your name tag that said realtor and I go, oh my gosh, how's the market? And then, hey, here's my number. Could you call me? I'm interested in, what would you do? You'd put it right in your phone. You wouldn't open up your computer, let me get my CRM. That's the next step. So the phone to me is really vital. And on my iPhone, all like lately with the virtual open houses and virtual tours and everything, I've done everything from my phone with iMovie. And edit. It's so crazy the power we can get right in the palm of our hands. Now, can I get crazy or get my MacBook out? Can I do? Sure, right? But there's so much we can do with the cell phones nowadays, to me, that I have to always include that in one of the most important pieces of technology I use.
Yep. I've been in the business longer than you guys, and I remember when I had to upgrade my phone because my clients had a better phone than I did. And we're out and about looking at properties, and they could look stuff up that I couldn't. So that showed me right then and there how important the phone is in our real estate business. And yes, that was a number of years ago. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And you're talking about Command is the only, it's not really a CRM. Part of Command is a CRM. It's a platform. It's the only platform that you're using in your business. And I, as a team leader, I still hear a lot that Command is just not as good as I want it to be, and it's just not working. And so I'm going to keep using the other CRM that I'm used to and that sort of thing. I see AJ nodding his head. Xavier, that's the only thing you're using. So clearly it must be working. So can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I've noticed is context is decisive, right? So from someone who's internal, especially someone like us who's really playing with it, using it, labbing it, breaking it, etc., I can poke holes in anything, you know? And so I can point to all the things that I've heard or I know that don't work, or it's not ready for my business because of X, Y, or Z. Yet if we took 10 or 100 agents that weren't with Keller Williams and sat them down and showed them one or two of the cool things we could do, almost every single one without fail every single time is like, whoa, my brokerage didn't give that to me, or whoa, how can you do, whoa. It's so what I say to that is, why don't we shift the mindset? Why don't I focus on what I can do now in my business that really works and get my business to the next level of where I really go, hey, I need this thing now because that doesn't work for me. I don't care almost what level your team is or your agent solo business is or whatever. There's pieces of command that really could work with you if you actually sat down and tried to implement it. Now, some people don't want to work in more than one system. So if you're looking at command as the whole end all be all to replace what you're doing now, sure, maybe it's not ready for you yet. And I totally get that. However, how much money could you save if you started implementing certain pieces of command in your business? And then that becomes a business conversation. And I'll have that conversation with anybody any day.
Okay, and so, thank you for that. And this is not a marketing or advertising for just command today. So, but I do want to touch on one other thing. The more we use it, the smarter it gets. So could you talk about that, Xavier, a little bit more too? And you could, for example, you could talk about checklists inside of opportunity, however you want to talk about it. But the more we use it, the smarter it gets. And why is that?
Sure. So it's really the power of a connected platform. And so what does that mean? That means all of the data that Keller Williams is using and putting into command and into the platform is shared. And then we take our artificial intelligence and we put that on top of it. So now it's accessing that. And what artificial intelligence does is it gathers data, recognizes patterns, generates insights, and then provides recommendations. So the easiest example is one of the most popular things we can do in our platform right now is launch Facebook campaigns, ads through our system and generate leads for $1 to $2 on average across the country, right? So it's super popular. Well, how about the day where, because we're clicking certain clicks every time we create an ad, now we go fast forward 6 months or a year and we can say, hey, I want to attract buyers or promote a listing. And all of a sudden the AI, the artificial intelligence, tells us from all the data it's collected, we recommend you run on Facebook and Instagram. We recommend you do it for 10 days. We recommend you run $5 a day. We recommend you start it here. And here's what you can do. Would you like to do that now? And you're like, what? Yes. Because it recognizes that. Also with our opportunities, right? Tracking what deals have closed, when they've closed, which ones were under contract then fell out, what type of offer is going to work best for you. This offer is 73% likely to be accepted. How about you alter it to this? It's 94% likely to be accepted. I mean, the power of what we can do with the shared data is ridiculous. And right now we're really in a data gathering mode. And with 180,000+ associates strong, we have the largest data set and the largest amount of agents using it. And we've been collecting our data and sharing it for over 30 years because of our profit sharing program. So it's a win right there. So the more agents that use it, the smarter and the more powerful it gets.
AJ put in the chat, is there really any system that can do it all? And I think that's a really good point, because the answer is no, right? Thank you, AJ. Chad, tell us about your favorite tech tools that you're using to drive your business.
So I think probably where I've lacked before, and it's not really command, but this tool has helped me so much, is really the transaction from contract to close, or even in the who's in my pipeline, and to see that. So opportunities for me are huge. If you're, everyone that I talk to, and I have a conversation about when they're looking to purchase, buy or sell, they go into my pipeline, and I can always know who do I need to call to move someone along through my pipeline. And then from there, once we're under contract, the contract to close part of it with the checklist, they're huge for me, because I currently don't use a contract to close person. Hopefully within about 15 days, that'll change. Waiting on a company to open up a spot for me. But I think it's huge for someone to be able to track and basically make opportunities what they want it to be, what works for them. It's so customizable.
Right. For those of you who are guests with us today and not really with Keller Williams, we're talking about our platform, our technology platform in Keller Williams called KW Command. And inside of that platform, our pipeline tool is called Opportunities. So Chad is talking about opportunities, and we use that from the beginning when someone might just be a very cold lead, all the way to when we get someone into contract and through that contract process. So you're using that, Chad, as your entire pipeline tool, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Great.
if I know a date that they're looking to purchase or buy or sell, they go into the pipeline, and if they're they're either in cultivate, have a cultivate tag, or if they're an opportunity, if they're actually a live person that I have a search set up for and an agreement with.
Cool, thank you. So the next question I had asked you guys when I sent you questions ahead of time was, has this changed over the years? Are you using now what you used to use? Danielle, can you share a little bit about how that's changed for you?
Absolutely. So, you know, it's been said that the best CRM out there is the CRM that you will use, right? And for a lot of people, you know, there's Gary's box, right? Which I actually own a Gary's box with the note cards. If you're not familiar, Google it. It's actually pretty interesting. And it really is, it was something that I referenced when I first started in labs, before labs was actually a thing. And I've utilized that. I've utilized a notebook, a 5-subject notebook where I keep track of everything. And it's really a paper version of what Command is now. Facebook was my CRM. I had e-edge. I did the things when I was a new agent. I did what I was told, but I didn't feel it, right? So I utilized what was comfortable to me. And for me, that was social media. So that actually was my CRM. I won't get into how, but it was. Since becoming a labs advisor and really diving really deeply into labs, I've started to use Command and actually use it, not just plug a couple things into it to say that I'm participating, all right? If you actually utilize it, it makes such a huge difference. And I find that there are pieces now that I can leverage out to the system and allow it to do its job for me. So it allows me to actually make those one-on-one conversations matter more and take more time to do that. And that's what's actually helped grow my business even more so in the last 2 years.
Cool, thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Xavier, you talked about you fully using Command. Was there a time when you weren't? Has that changed?
It's been more so how much more can we continue to implement as our business is growing. And it's just taking things from this, that whiteboard, you know, into the system. Not really converting from, oh, okay, Command can do this thing that this other thing does for me now. It hasn't really been that because we didn't really use other things. We weren't like, you know, sending email marketing campaigns with MailChimp. We weren't really doing postcard mailers until we started doing them in Command. We weren't doing, you know, so there's a lot of other things in our business that we just weren't doing at all that now we're doing, which is really cool because we're also expanding and growing. And I think that that's really, it's just been awesome to see is we're growing, Command's growing with us because I know what it looked like before, and to see what it is now, it's just like, holy cow, you can't imagine what it looks like next year.
Well, that's a good point. So what was it in your business that as you started to grow that made you realize, okay, let's try this or let's try that, and all of a sudden that helped you grow too? What were the points in your business where you realized you needed to add some stuff?
So obviously, one of the things we do is we leverage a transaction coordinator. However, in using the opportunities and, you know, viewing our sales pipeline and seeing everything and the steps and creating it to map our business model, I've actually taken on transaction coordination for lots of our transactions. Not all of them, but when I don't have a heavier workload, I'm like, yeah, I'll take that transaction. And then that gets run through my consulting business. So that's additional income for us as a household, as a family, that instead of paying out, we now have coming inbound. So not only did we save money, we actually earned money. And so that's like a win-win right there for us. The organization of the database, when it lives here, what's the organization?
Right.
It's A to Z or Z to A. And so now being able to map that. So one of the things we did was we synced it's been over a year now we've done this. We synced both of our phones, our Google contacts on our iPhones, directly with Command. So now we have that live sync in less than 5 minutes. If I met you at, you know, Publix or wherever, grocery store or something, and put you in my phone, you're in command. And vice versa. If you were an agent and I found you in the referral network and connected with you, boom, now you're in my phone. So that to me is really powerful because I said earlier, my phone is one of my top tech tools. So being able to have that live sync and connection all the time. Another thing is having the database in one place allows me as a rainmaker and my wife as a rainmaker to see all of the database together. So I can just log in and then click the drop down for our team and then click my wife's name as an example, and it switches from my whole database to hers.
Wow.
Before we didn't have that. So now being able to communicate effectively, I think that's one of the things that's helped us grow. And then for sure, the marketing content. I didn't do anything on Facebook before actually using Command. I didn't even touch it. I avoided it. And the content we create now is like, people love it. We have such a following on our social media because of it. And it's like, whoa, we're just being us. And Command allowed us to do that through social media with the designs.
The way you talk about it is you just simplified your life, right?
Yeah, very, very much so. And
'Cause
we're
we
still,
can-
and it's a work in progress for us. We're
Sure.
still doing that. It's like, I kind of so analytical at times that I won't implement something until I've actually fully spoken to my wife about it. And then she's like, okay. And then we try and block time together to make it happen. And then sometimes it's just like, just get it done. All right, let's do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Chad, how about you? Has it changed? You know,
Yeah, so I came into Keller Williams right when eEdge has launched, so a little over 7 years ago. So I caught all the ups and downs and the bugs with that. Same thing we're going through with Command from the start. And Command is so much better than eEdge was.
wait, Command was so much what?
A Command is so much better than eEdge
Oh,
could ever
okay.
ever be. I guess things that I really use a lot technology is the Kelly app. And especially when I get a call from a client and I'm on the road, I can just pull out Kelly and pull up the client's contact and say, what our conversation was about. And with that, another thing I use, kind of what Danielle messaged about or talked about, was I use an iPad Pro for all of my notes. I used to have 5-ring notebooks in my truck, in my office, at my house, in my backpack. I had them everywhere. And every time I needed something, it was always in another notebook. So now I use an iPad Pro with the pencil for all my notes. So it's always going to be on my iPad and it's always going to be on my phone because they sync together. And I think that has saved me a ton of headache, is having those notes right there readily available all the time.
Yeah, thank you for that. I might have to take you up on that one. I'm a sticky note person still, I will admit it. Suggestions for you guys of where to get started for technology. Danielle, what are the top 3 tips for where someone should get started?
So if you're specifically looking for KW technology, I'm going to steal all the really easy answers, guys. You need to be looking at the 66-day challenge. That is the first place that I send my new agents or my new to Command agents. You need to be in there. And he just started version 4.0, which is pretty awesome. And that is a great place to go. Also following Jay Cermak, that's C-E-R-M-A-K, if I remember correctly.
I think that's right.
Yes. He has some fabulous videos that he puts out on a regular basis. You should be in Connect and really taking a look at the different stuff that's coming out. The only thing that's constant in technology is that it's constantly changing. You have to devote, if you do nothing else, devote 20 minutes every single day to learning something new, because if you thought you knew it last week, it's going to be different next week. So those are my tips for newer agents.
Thank you. And for those of us who have a hard time going that quickly with changes, how have you found some balance with that?
It really is just time blocking. That's why I like the videos. We have a lot of people who really enjoy one-on-one, personal, hands-on type training, which is wonderful when we're not dealing with COVID. However, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, right? So instead of looking at it as, I only have this stuff on a computer and it's computerized training. If you change the way you look at it and say, I have this personalized, recently recorded, up-to-date information at my fingertips, and if I want to study at 10:30 at night when the kids are in bed, I can do that. Wait, I didn't hear that. Let me pause it and rewind it. I think that's really vital
Right.
to understand that there are real positives to having that at your fingertips.
So thank you for that. In terms of how to start 66-day challenge, I highly recommend that as well. What would be those 3 pieces that you would say are the most important pieces? Like probably for you, would you say getting your contacts into command, working on some Facebook campaign? I don't want to say it for you, but what would be your 3 pieces?
So I think the first thing you need to do is really get your contacts in there, and don't just throw them in. Get your contacts in and get them complete. Take your time, chunk it down into little bitty pieces, and do 5 contacts a day if that's what you can handle. Make sure that you're getting all the information in there. So getting contacts in is really important. And if you are actively producing right now, getting at least 1 transaction into opportunities. I know my market center isn't utilizing any of Command for market centers yet. So it's not required for us to get paid. I still have all of our new agents go through and put at least 1 opportunity in so you can follow it from start to finish. I think that's really important because there's so much that you can learn just from taking a single transaction through the entire process.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for that. Xavier, you want to add to that? Top 3?
So for me, I always, someone with a lot of background in transformation, I start right here. So to me, it all really starts in the brain, because one of the things that I can almost guarantee, if you're going to be developing yourself in some new technology, or you're going to try and dive into something or whatever that case may be, you're more likely than not to experience what we call overwhelm, right? And what I always do is say, well, let's get grounded in reality. See, because what's actually happening right now, because life's happening right now, is this is a desk, this is a webcam, this is my phone. So that's right now reality, and everything that we're dealing with when we get frustrated with technology or whatever it is and something new is all the brain predicting something from the future. Like, this is what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, what if I don't get it? Oh, I'll never get this, or oh, whatever that is. This take too long. So none of that's actually happening right now. And if we can just stop the brain train from leaving the station for a moment and go, hold on, let's just, what's happening right now? I'm sitting in front of my computer. Oh, okay, got it. Then we can alter that brain pattern. And I've done a lot of study in neuroscience, so I'm sorry I rambled, but it's just neurons firing. You literally have no control over that. So if you can just get it, it's not actually personal to you. That's just what it means to be a human being. That's just natural. So we can just stop for a moment, and then all of a sudden say, oh, then I have the space to create, like Danielle said, the way I look at, I change the way I look at things, and the things I look at change, etc. Well, when you're on the brain train, sweetie, there is nothing you can do to stop that. It sounds nice, but it becomes a bumper sticker. It's not going to make a difference in that moment for you. So when we can stop that, all of a sudden it's like, oh. And then I would say from Shift, one of the things that from the book Shift, it says that you focus on your message and your method. And most of the time what we do is we say, oh, I want to do something on Facebook. Okay, what do I want to say? But that's actually opposite of the way we should do it. We should go, what is the message I want to deliver? And then go, how am I going to deliver that? So if it's, what am I going to implement in technology now? You know what? I could actually create marketing design. And I can do that without putting my database in, without having to manage my you could alleviate the overwhelm if you get that. I could actually start using Command, and I can generate new business, new leads from Facebook without actually having to have my whole database uploaded and managing my whole business from Command. Those are things, if you're ready to implement, go for it. But there's so many cool things you can do without having to have this be the place you run your whole business. Yeah. So I would say that's what I would focus on. Let's get this thing straight first, and then what's one thing I'm going to look at right now?
Yeah, chunk it down. Chunk it down and not get overwhelmed, and just pick one thing, right? Okay.
Yeah, and even if you get overwhelmed, it's okay. You can just interrupt it.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, brain person.
You're welcome.
Chad, how about you? Top 3?
Top 3 things I would say would be the database, the command database, just like they said, don't just stick everybody in there. You don't have to do that. Just do 5, 10 a day. Work on it. Get your kind of like when you get an iPhone, you don't read the instructions. You just get on it and you start playing around with it. Do that with contacts. Get 5 contacts in. Put 5 contacts in opportunities, and then do a design to send to 5 contacts. Designs is amazing, especially if you have all your listings coming in less than 5 minutes. You can have marketing material that looks like it was done, cost you $100. It's so simple to just click and choose the different designs to use. Those, my top 3 things are the designs, the command database, and the opportunity part of it.
Thank you. Just a really quick chunk it down recommendation. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. So in terms of contacts, focus on 1 letter at a time. Get your A's done, then go to your B's, then go to your C's. And before you know it, you'll have the whole database in there. Chunk it down. Danielle, plans for the future. Where do you hope to go next with this?
With regard to the technology?
Yeah, but also in your business, do you have a 5-year goal, and where do you expect this technology to take you?
So really, I see the technology as a tool, right? It is just something to help us get down the river. Could we do it without it? Sure. Is it going to be as easy? No. So for me, really, I look at my business where it is currently. I look at where life is, and in 5 years, my goal is to be able to, I'm going to have kids in college. I'm going to be able to let them stay in the house that we have now because we're nice and close to university. And then husband and I are going to travel. I need to have my business to the point where I can run it from a motor home anywhere, whether it's visiting Chad in Texas or visiting X in Florida, right? So that's my end goal, utilizing the technology that we have and that we're working together to build and break and rebuild. That is the end goal.
Cool. Thank you. Xavier, what would you add to that?
For me, I would say we're just continuing to grow. So we have a goal of 20 million in production by 2022. Well, actually, we're probably going to hit that next year now, based on.
Woohoo!
So it's
Good job.
Oh, okay, cool. So and really, that's pretty much. I mean, we don't really need to grow any larger. We're going to be a small, well-oiled machine. And my wife and I both have a passion for making a difference. So our future is being like some of those top husband and wife people that make a difference and not necessarily actively in production anymore. So I could name a lot of, husband and wife people that are, very big in our industry. And yet that's kind of what it's about. It's about empowering people. It's coaching and training, developing people to be empowered in life. And part of that life just happens to be real estate.
That's very cool. Thank you for that. Chad, how about you?
For me, so I didn't mention earlier, so I'm actually an expansion partner with Mock Ranches out of Boston. Casey Mock, who owns the team, is the head of KW Land. Casey and I have known each other for years. When I wanted to kind of transition straight out residential into land, Casey and I had a business agreement, and so I'm the new expansion partner for the Houston region. So for me, it is growing our expansion team here in Houston, but also taking our technology that I'm learning and building with KW and utilizing that over the whole Mock Ranches team and helping them grow their database and grow their profit share, their market share with the tools that we're building for them.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to ask you guys one other question, but hey, AJ, can you do me a favor? Can you check the chat box and see if I missed anything, and then I'll come back to you in just a second? Will you do that for me?
Sure.
While he's doing that, because I'm about to open up for questions, you guys have done this type of presentation in some form or fashion many times. Is there anything that I missed that you would love to touch on?
I think you've done a really good job of kind of asking all of the pertinent questions. Everything else is going to be likely case-by-case questions,
Okay.
Asking nuances and things of that.
Okay, thank you.
I would say that, it's all just about being open to conversation. And one of the things that I really ground myself in for sure in life is that anything's possible and anything can be created in the future. And I'm just who do I need to be now to start taking those actions to make that happen out in the future. And so if you're looking at implementing new technology, or you're looking at considering Keller Williams or whatever, I don't care if you're here with us already or not, or whatever it is, it's just what kind of conversation we can have, because anything can be created and worked out in a conversation. But if we walk into a conversation with an already existing point of view and a reference, et cetera, you may not even hear what's being said. And so then you miss out on things because the brain's already predicting, and it's, the study shows up to 10 seconds ahead of you in making decisions. You think you're making a decision and it's actually already happened. So you got to really just be present, and let's have conversations and see what we can create together.
Yeah, thank you. Chad, anything else you would add?
I would say just like kind of we've already iterated, it's just go in, play with it. You'll get frustrated. We bang our heads against the wall every day, whether it's in command or life in general, but you keep trudging along. Take little bits, pieces. As has been stated, Marty Miller's 66-day challenge. Marty's in my market center. He's a labs advisor with us. He's really put a lot of thought and effort into helping you go from not knowing anything about command to being a pro at the end of 66 days.
I love what he said about the fact that I think he said this last week, that when he was asked to create a 66-day challenge, how much it made him learn everything better at a higher level. I thought that was cool. You know, one of my favorite parts about talking to you guys today was your human connection, and how much you've continued to make your client the center of your business, the center of the transaction, that human connection, I can tell from all three of you, is really important, and that you're sprinkling technology into that to better the relationship, better your lives, save you time, whatever those different reasons are that you're using. So I really appreciate that. And I can tell that your clients are very happy with you. AJ, did I miss anything?
Oh, yeah. So there was one private question, by the way. Thank you, Howie, Danielle, and Chad. I now have an opportunity to see them in some of the other meetings, and I got to know them very well. Danielle for a much longer period of time, since we are in the same region. So thank you, guys. This was amazing. This is really good to see you guys come in and do this. I had one private question I think it was for Chad, the DT, D2 tags, and how you use them, and what do you do with them? So that was one of the I saw.
Yeah, you should be able to find those on KW Connect. So I actually use a little bit of variation so each week I call, like, the letters are AW, BEDO, and it kind of goes on. And I also throw in a letter that week that I'm just texting. So it may be A and W that I'm calling, leaving voice messages for, and emailing. And then the single letter, I am just sending them a text message 3 times a week till I get a response.
Got it.
Can I just add something to that really quickly, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
So for those of you who may not know, so the DTD2, as it mentioned, it's basically a way to organize and group your database to ensure that everyone gets communicated with. And what we say from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent is that everyone should have at least a phone conversation with you every quarter. And so this is a way to ensure that you've organized your database, that everyone gets a phone call from you and you have that conversation. And then it's just organized in a way that, oh, wow, I never have to ask what I'm going to do today or who I'm going to call. It's just grouped for you that way. And so what they're talking about is tagging our database in Command in such a way that we can do that. But you can use any CRM or system and actually do that.
Yeah. In fact, Pamela Kimmel asked about Gary's box, and you can use it with Gary's box too. So Pam, you might remember when Gary talked about when he first got into real estate, he was handed 2 boxes, and one box was for receipts and one box was for all of his leads. So when Danielle talked about Gary's box, she was talking about using an old-fashioned shoe box as a CRM. And fortunately, most of us have come a long way from that type of a CRM. So thank you. Any other things in the chat, AJ?
No, I didn't see anything else other than that. Yeah, that's
You guys, you have 3 great people here to ask questions to. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask a question, now's a great time. By the way, as I get better at these Zooms, I've found that I have to count to at least 10 to give people. Anybody have a question?
I'll ask a question for Chad on the bots. So you said messenger bots, right? So could you go into that a little bit more in how the messenger bots work and how do you get that content? Or I mean, do you connect it to command, or do you just use it independently?
I use it independently. I've tested some with command, but it works off of they have to go. It has to be able to send the person to Facebook Messenger, which I tried to get around it and playing with that a little bit, where it sends them to an independent URL. And I can send you the link of the guys. He built these bots, the templates, and I purchased them. Mine are built really. I've had to go in and rearrange a lot of the functionality of the templates because they're based for residential sales. So if you do residential, I mean, you plug and play, you're done. With me, I had to go in and change a lot of the verbiage and terminology for land sales. It's been huge for me. I've got some ads that I have had tremendous feedback on that I'm getting, I'm like 23 cents per message, per conversation started. I think the highest I've ever had is 87 cents. I've never had one over $1.
Wow.
They're great. Nice. In fact, I'll post a link.
Yeah, send me post that link.
Yeah, could you put that in the chat? That'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody else have a question?
I have one, but it's not tech related.
That's fine.
All right, so Xavier, my question is for you. I am working towards approved trainer and then eventually master faculty too. I took the course with Dick Dillingham and Bev Steiner. Then I was going to take the class in April and COVID hit. Any idea on what they're going to be doing in the future for that?
So this is a little kind of maybe sneak peek or something, but I've been working with Holly Prescott, who's master faculty, and so they're looking at delivering train the presenter for KW Worldwide. Oh. And so her and I are looking at how do we deliver train the virtual trainer and train the virtual presenter, et cetera, for KW Worldwide. So I know that they're looking at that. KWU doesn't yet have plans to actually take that in-person course where you get certified and move it online, because it is really vital for those in-person interactions. However, depending on where we're at, there's still stuff happening, because just locally in Clearwater last week and in Tampa this week, they actually had in-person train the presenter classes scheduled. Oh. Now, those might have been market centers with bigger training rooms, very limited attendance, because those classes have limited attendance anyways, because everyone's doing a presentation, et cetera. So I would say just keep an eye out, because it is still happening. And it'll probably, as we continue to move forward, we'll get some more of it. And I'm not writing off that there will be a virtual option for those things. It just hasn't worked. They just haven't worked out the logistics for that yet.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was in touch with Dick Dillingham not too long ago, and he did say that they're working on some sort of option for it as well.
Perfect.
It's saying, am I slowing down? It says my connection's unstable. Am I okay? Any other questions, you guys? Do you guys mind putting contact info if people want to get in touch with you? You guys mind putting your contact info in the chat? And Yvonne, do you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. Hold on so they can see me. Hi, everybody. My question to the panel is, where do you think home values in all your areas are going to be in the next 12 months period?
I'll start. So Tampa Bay is actually one of the top 5 markets in the country right now as far as values and everything, even with COVID happening. So we're appreciating it 5 to 8% annually, and we have actually seen an impact on that. What we've seen is more of a heavy seller's market because the inventory is so low. So I think, obviously real estate is hyper local and it does vary. However, here it's still popping off. It's crazy. We're receiving over a referral a week for people that are looking in this area. It's crazy. So I see that the values are, do well. We obviously can't predict anything. We just had that conversation with a new buyer today, yet the time is now before the prices get higher because the demand's so high and the inventory is low.
Yeah, I left my crystal ball in my other laptop. However, As you guys know, I'm not that far north of you, and I actually am getting ready to close escrow on a property in San Leandro, so really not all that far from you. What we're seeing up here is, especially with COVID happening, we're seeing a lot of people from your area coming up here. They want these views, and they can work from home now. We're seeing a lot of the places do that. So our property values are sitting pretty even at the moment, and we're seeing them start to rise. I have 6 escrows going on right now, and every single one of them is above list price. So that's what we're seeing at the moment.
Awesome, thank you.
Here in Houston, we've still been, it took a little bit of things slowed down right when the COVID thing stuff started. And then when interest rates started dropping, I mean, people jumped right back in. As far as a lot of things that I'm seeing on my side is the people that are living in subdivisions, small lots with their neighbors, that they're wanting acreage around them. So I have a lot of people that have saying, look, I don't want to, if something ever happens like this or worse, I don't want to be stuck in a neighborhood where I can't get out or I can't be able to function. So and I'm not calling them not preppers or anything, but they're wanting some acreage, some land around them. So I have a lot of people that are wanting to have a weekend place or their main place that's out in the, out in the country with more land around them.
Thank you. Any other questions? They can't be that shy, huh? Well, thank you guys so much for being with us today. I really appreciate all your generosity and in so many ways. I mean, you guys are on the forefront of getting inside a command, figuring it out, tearing your hair out, breaking it, figuring it out. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your time, and maybe we'll do it again in another 6 months and see where we're at that point. So thanks everybody for being with us today. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thanks for having
Laura,
us.
can you
Thank
make
you.
sure that people get our contact info? Because if they miss the chat or they're not watching it live and they're watching the recording, they won't see that.
Yeah,
They won't see it. Yeah.
we definitely have it, and we'll get it to them. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
What do you do for this?
It's a meeting, Mom, meeting.
Huh?
It's a meeting.
What? What is it that you're trying with this?
How do we get out of here?